Off Script with Super E recommends listener discretion as these real but sometimes uncensored stories can be filled with mature content. Hey everyone, Jay here with another Off Script with Super E. We've got A-Train. A-Train, say something.
Hi everybody, it's A-Train.
And we have, of course, Super E. Super E, say something.
How's everybody doing?
Everybody's great because they're listening to us.
That's right.
So before we launch into another tale, kind of wanted to bring something up and get your all's thoughts on it because we all did this a long time. Some of us are still doing it. What are your thoughts on the current state of recruiting? I know when, we came on, we had over 3,000 applicants for, like maybe 20 some spots.
Right.
And now the recruiting is way down. And I don't want to get political or anything crazy like that. That's not what this show is. But do either of you have anything, maybe thoughts, ideas that we could do to help with recruiting and, not being political about it?
Well, I think we're doing something right now because people are going to listen to Super E and they're going to say, just like Super E wanted to be like Serpico and Starsky and Hutch, there might be some young guys out there going to say, hey, I want to be just like Super E when I grow up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And it's not, and it's as great as these stories, these tales are, it's what, it's what's in his heart. I mean, Super E just wanted to help people, and that was the thing, and that's what we all came on to talk about and wanted to do. And we all have our different ways of doing it. We all scatter around and kind of find your niche within your agency and go from there. Super E, what do you think of that?
Well, I just wish that the people knew how hard the police work to try to, to help their community. And it is a very stressful job, but it is a very rewarding career. And I highly recommend it to people, but I just wish the community or the public was so quick to judge a policeman's actions. There are so many variables to events that happen that you just kind of got to step back and wait before you rush to judgment. So, because the officers out there, they're not out there trying to do something underhanded or shady. They just want to help their community and just do the best job they can and go home that day. Because that's what we all want to do. Help our community and go home to our family.
Exactly. And
there's not too many other jobs where, you're going to go, you know what? As soon as I hit the street, I could be killed. I mean, I don't know too many other jobs where you have to worry about that.
Exactly. And, kind of back to, I was maybe being a little sarcastic, everybody wants to be like Super E, but it also, listen to these things. It may let people think, more about exactly what everything entails. Like on our last episode, Ernie's talking about doing an undercover drug deal. He's got to worry about the drug dealer with the gun. He's got to worry about maybe getting robbed because he had a bunch of money on him. And then he's got to, worry about when it's all over getting beat up by the SWAT team. You got to listen to that episode if you haven't heard it.
Yeah. Yeah. The SWAT team doesn't run around beating up people, but Ernie kind of provoked.
He did. He provoked
bit, so.
But I guess what I'm saying
A-Train and Jay, I didn't really provoke him. I maybe irritated him.
Yes, just a little irritated.
Before they did the hit. That's the thing too.
Yeah.
That the provoking, irritating came during the briefing when they heard what you had said.
Right. But what I'm trying to say is there are a lot more variables, about police work than I think, most people really think about.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what? Go ahead there, Super E. I cut you off.
No, I was just agreeing with what you're saying.
Oh,
wow! He agreed with us.
Oh my
Jay.
gosh!
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Well, since you agree with that, would you agree to maybe tell us another tale?
All right. Well, when I got into Vice in the late '80s, on the main drag of the large city that we worked, um, they had problems with street prostitutes, and again, the citizens constantly complained of the street prostitutes working in their area because there were residential homes all around there. And also, this wasn't females, there were men that did it too. Now, these weren't men that dressed up like women. We called them hustlers. And the hustlers would walk up and down the main drag too, and they would try to make money from sex. But the twist on that was these guys, the hustlers, generally did not perform a sex act on the customer. The customer performed the sex act on the hustler and then paid the hustler for the privilege of performing the sex act on the hustler.
I think I saw that on Midnight Cowboy. That's what you're talking about, right?
Everybody's
John
talking
Bullock,
at me.
Yeah.
Don't hear a thing they're saying.
Okay, Joe Buck, go ahead.
So, anyways, and back then when working Vice, you were up and down the main drag. There was like 4 areas where prostitution was prevalent in the city, but there was one main drag that just cut through the heart of the city where all the problems were the female prostitutes and the male hustlers were. And then we used to have to use our own cars for undercover vehicles. In the late '80s, we did not have you didn't have a bunch of cars that you could select from.
Right. So A-Train and I both have our hands up because we have a lot of questions about that. You go first.
So, back in the day, you're saying that you had to use your personal car as your undercover vehicle.
Yes, I mean it was like, well, we don't have any cars, so we're gonna have to drive your own personal car, and then you would have one car for the squad to ride around in, which would be like like a Chevy Caprice that didn't have any markings on it. And then this will date it. We got one of the first ever Chevy Luminas.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so you'd cruise around in that. We'd be able to rent a car from Ace Rental Cars or whatever it was back then, Hertz Rental Car. You got to rent one car for the squad, but then your undercover cars came from you.
Wow. Okay.
So,
And
were you able?
Go ahead.
What's that? I was just going to say, were you able to put gas in it? While on the department's gas, city gas? Or did you have to use your own gas?
I think you would get permission. Yeah, I got to put some gas in this, and then you would have to cite the the case number of the rest or whatever that was made. If I recall.
Gotcha.
How many guys would roll in on E and end up on F?
I drove numerous old Chrysler products, and they had gigantic motors in them.
Right.
And so this one night, I was driving my 1967 black over gold Chrysler 300 with a 444 barrel.
Sweet.
Yes, and so I had a couple of cars, backup cars, following me this night, and so I'm driving around, and my car's. What helped about that was my car is distinctive. Nowadays everybody has all you see is Priuses and Chevy Impalas and Ford Tauruses.
Right.
So my cars would kind of stick out back in 1989. So I'm driving down the main drag, and remember, we would see the same faces, it seems like, every night. So you try to change your appearance the best you could. And by this time, again, I had long hair or beard or Fu Manchu. I wore one of those, try to be like Joe Namath. Google him if you're younger than 20.
That's his second Joe Namath reference.
Yes,
I know.
True.
Was Joe your man? Was Broadway Joe your guy?
Well, I think it was everybody's. You look cool all the time, but I sported the Fu Manchu. So I thought I need to change this up a little bit because I saw this guy walking down the main drag, and it's like he's got, for the hustlers, if they had the thumb out, that was a heavy indication that they were prostituting.
Okay.
And so I thought, this guy kind of looks familiar. I'm not for sure. So I took all my hair, I put it under my little ball cap, because you would keep a bunch of stuff in the back seat, like different types of clothes, hats, and stuff.
Disguises?
Yeah, they didn't really pay attention to it. So I put this hat on, and then I turned the bill up to look like Gomer Pyle.
Okay.
And then I got these glasses that I think were for my mom, and I could look up and see Pluto with them. So my eyes were kind of fogged. So I pull up, and like I've always said, I pulled up about 20 yards past the person, and this dude was hitchhiking. I pull up about 20 yards past him, pull over, stop. He comes running up to my car and gets in. And he immediately looks at me, looking like Mr. Peepers. I did Google that, right? A-Train?
Mr. Peepers. So you were going for a Mr. Peepers persona. Is that what you're telling me?
Who
Yes, I was looking like
is
a
Mr. Peepers?
submissive guy that would be non-threatening to the hustler.
You got to go a little deeper with Mr. Peepers. Not tracking with that.
Super, correct me if I'm wrong. Mr. Peepers was a TV show, I think back in the 50s. I think it might have starred Wally Cox. Is that right?
Wally Cox, I think late 50s, early 60s. He was a very small man of stature.
Right.
And he talked like this. I'm Mr. Peepers. And he had these thick glasses on.
Okay. So you're trying to change your look and your sound up because you thought maybe you run into this guy before. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Okay. So
instead of going from trying to have the, I'm a construction type guy, or I'm this kind of guy, I'm now going to be a non-threatening, milk toasty guy with bug-eyed glasses and a Gomer Pyle hat on.
So you went from Super E/Superman to Clark Kent.
If Clark Kent starred in Gomer Pyle USMC, yes.
A really, really dorky Clark Kent.
So do you realize? Remember what we grew up on, the Superman or Adventures of Superman. Clark Kent was smart. The ones we grew up as a kid,
right?
With George Reeves as Superman,
right?
The Clark Kent was very smart, very clever. Then you fast forward to, was it in the 70s when Christopher Reeves was Superman? Mm-hmm. His interpretation or the way he did Clark Kent was a goof.
Okay,
which I didn't like that.
Yeah, no, you liked. Well, you just what you grew up with. That's what you wanted to stick with. You wanted the George Reeves.
You're right. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The whole Clark Kent thing. So anyway.
So Ernie, okay. So you've kind of described what your Mr. Peepers persona is going to be. You got your baseball hat bill flipped up. You got the goofy glasses. Got your hair tucked up. What
about the neck hair? Did well, hey, that's valid.
Well, I mean, he probably didn't have time to shave the back of his neck.
I didn't have my can of Nair handy to spray on.
Right. So did you? Sounds like maybe you went for you pulled a Rich Little, maybe a voice disguise.
Yes, it's kind of thing where the guys who used to do the impressions back in the day, they would remember how they on the Ed Sullivan Show they would turn around and mess up their hair, then be Burt Lancaster, or
yes,
Kirk Douglas.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And so as soon as he got in the car, these people, what they would have to do is they would have to read your body language, because some of these guys that would pick these guys up were psychotic killers, and they had to be extremely cautious. And so as soon as he saw me non-threatening, well, then he was going to lay down the law that he was the boss of this soon to be transaction of what was going to happen.
Okay.
So when he gets in the car, he goes, "What's your name?" And I said, "My name is Tommy." And he's like, "Well, I'm going to tell you how it's going to be, Tommy." I go, "Yes, sir." And he goes,
"Wait a minute, you just went British. Did you?"
Well, I did start it with, "Old chap, quality mind."
So this guy's going to lay the law down. He's going to tell you how it's going to be.
Yeah, yeah. He starts like swelling up on me. He's like, "Listen, Tommy,
Well,
here's what's going to happen here. You're going to suck my dick, and then you're going to give me $30 for it. You got it?" And of course, I had to keep role playing. I was like, "Oh yes, sir. You're so in charge. I admire you." And but I have to make sure. I also have to be sneaky enough not to be obvious that I'm looking in my rearview mirror and my side mirrors to make sure that my backup is with me.
there again, the cop
So I'm
brain
trying
versus
to-
the Ray brain, right?
Right. So I'm trying to keep this guy busy by talking to him, just saying, "Oh, you look like a wonderful gentleman." And he's like, "Yeah, I am. None of your business. Just drive."
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might have just let him out and went on to somebody else. He's not very pleasant.
This is Super E. He's not.
That kind of crosses through your mind,
Yeah.
Safety first. But when I saw
wasn't
that I
thinking
had
from
both
safety, I
cars
just-
were following me, and he was not looking out. Normally, they look out the mirrors too. They're looking rear view mirror, side mirror. Hell, most of them would check the back seat. So he's oblivious to me being followed. So once I've got everything I need to make an arrest, where this guy is demanding that I perform fellatio on him, and I'm going to pay him $30 of U.S. currency, to be technical, that's the elements for a prostitution arrest.
Right.
So we had a special signal that I was able to give to my backup where they knew that I had an arrest.
Got it.
So then what you try to do is you try to get into a safe area to where the arrest is going to occur, and it's the safest possible place, and make sure that like no citizens would be involved unless in case there's any gunfire in the crossfire, anything like that.
Right.
So I pull into this. I said, "Yeah, sir, is permission to pull into this parking lot here?" And he was like, "Yeah, this is a good place. Get ready to start sucking my dick." And so I'm like, 10 for. And
Wait a minute.
so I give him the
Wait a
signal.
minute. You said 10-4?
Yeah, no, I. but I pulled.
Remember, we're not going to talk like cops.
Right, okay. But when I pulled into the area, he's not paying attention because he's thinking that I'm going to perform fellatio on him, and now he's talking about he wants the money up front. He's
Right.
focused on that. He's not focused on the two cars with their lights off, parked behind us, and then the police, my backup, getting out and walking up to the car. He's demanding like, "I want my money now." And I'm just kind of going, "Well, shouldn't I be able to perform my fellatio and then give you the U.S. currency, sir?" And so we're arguing about that.
Well, of course you were, because you said fellatio. I mean, that's going to make him think you're the police.
Now, is that a street term for
Right.
blowjob? I said yes.
Yes.
So,
I watched Night Court.
yes. And so one of the old crusty sergeants who had been on a long time, he rips open the passenger door and grabs a guy, puts a badge in his face, and said, "We're the police. You're under arrest for prostitution." He's putting the handcuffs on the guy in the front. And the guy's automatically like, this is the last thing he expected. He went from being Mr. Tough Guy, but he's like, I wasn't going to suck his dick. He was going to suck my dick. And I said, "That's true. Yes, officer." And they tried to suck his dick. He goes, "See, he's going to suck my dick." And then I wasn't going to let him do it. All I was going to do was rob him of his money. I wasn't going to let him suck my dick. I was going to rob him.
This just went from a misdemeanor to a felony.
And that's exactly what the sergeant did, who didn't skip a beat. He goes, "Hold on, everybody. Let me cross out misdemeanor prostitution and felony robbery." So he's
Yep.
going to jail for felony robbery. And all of a sudden, the guy went, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." What was that? What'd you say, Sarge? "Well, you said you was going to rob him, not let him perform a sex act on you, which would have been a misdemeanor.
Words
You
matter.
admitting that you was going to rob him. Now we turn it into a felony arrest for robbery."
Words
And that's
matter,
what-
man.
I think he made the timeout signal with his hand, and he's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!" Change the arrest slip. He was going to suck my dick. I was going to take $30. Yes, prostitution. It's the misdemeanor. Yes, I accept that.
So he took it. He took a street plea.
Yeah,
Did I steal it?
Oh God!
Right, I stole it from
I
you.
just fist bumped A-Train because we had the exact same
Yeah, it was
thought.
kind of the kangaroo court street plea.
That's awesome. I have a request, Ernie.
Yes, A-Train.
Super E.
Super E.
You know what? Real quick, this might be a good time to explain because we're several episodes in that we're trying real hard to go with these names that we have for each other. Sometimes, and I don't know about you guys, but every now and then I feel like I've just been go back in time to the three of us sitting around in the office we shared. Super E would come into the office that we were in together at that certain time and just start BSing. I'm taken back to that.
I am slipping. I'm slipping back into the past, and I'm working on it, Jay. And I'm working on it, Super E. I'm gonna
Thanks,
keep working
A-Train.
on it. But here's my request, Super E. Could you do the remainder of this show in Mr. Peepers' voice? Would you do that for us?
I would try, but it's very hard on the vocal cords.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. Just give us as much as you can, okay?
So when the sergeant, you guys South Park at all?
Well, of course.
So when the Sarge comes up and puts his badge, I pictured that episode where Butters had the bottom bitch, which is just hilarious. But anyway, they had a vice guy, and he would stick his badge, and he'd be, freeze! That's just how I picture that whole thing going down with Mr. Ernie Peepers sitting over there. What say you, Mr. Peepers?
You mean Super E?
Super E Peepers.
See, I did it again.
Yep. So, okay.
Now I'm doing it.
I know. Yeah. So go ahead, Super E. Didn't mean to interrupt you, buddy.
What was I talking about?
I don't know. You were going to talk like Mr.
We're trying to
Peepers.
get you to talk like Mr. Peepers. Did you do that
you
voice
know-
in court?
No, I did not. But what I did was I did the kind of like the Sherlock Holmes that remember when Sherlock Holmes would be in a disguise and he would take off his disguise and it reveal himself to Moriarty, whatever.
Yes.
That's kind of like I did. I said, you thought I was Tommy, the street hustling customer to Big Sacks till I'm actually Detective Super E! I took my glasses off and revealed myself.
You know what? On those Sherlock Holmes movies, there were a couple times he fooled Watson. Do you remember that?
He what?
He fooled Watson.
Oh, yeah.
He would take his disguise off, and Watson would be like, "Oh, well, it's Sherlock Holmes."
Well, I'd never noticed.
Right. Yeah. So, okay.
A-Train, I think you would make a good Dr. Watson in this trio.
Okay. So, you're Sherlock?
I would be Sherlock, or Jay would be Sherlock.
No, you're the star of this show. You would be Sherlock.
We'll both be Dr. Watson, Jay. What do you think?
Sounds good.
I'm the extra. I'm the extra that shows up for every episode as a different person, but you recognize him
Okay.
as the guy who was just in the last episode as somebody else.
Got it.
I like that role.
Okay. So,
A-Train, you could edit out all this banter that's going nowhere,
Oh,
right?
absolutely,
not.
I'll let it out. If it's too bad, I'll let it out. But I don't think I'm going to edit one word.
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah.
This could be that when somebody just turns it off and goes, "What a bunch of self-indulgent nonsense! I'm never listening to that again."
It's possible.
You forgot pretentious.
And you know what? I just also had a revelation. We have lost a giant demographic. Anybody under 50 is really not going to understand most of what we were talking about.
They're not.
But you know what?
But you know what? They all have a Google machine in their hand, holding a Google machine right now.
Right.
It's from
Google.
the future.
Right. So, kids, I want you to get on. I want you to Google Mr. Peepers. I want you to Google old Superman.
Papaw, kids.
Hello. Now, listen, kids. Back in my day, we
Sherlock
didn't have the
Holmes.
Google machine.
That's right.
Sherlock Holmes, Watson, all that. So, anyway, that's your assignment for tonight, kids. Super E,
Yes, sir.
tell us something. So this guy, he took his He took his street plea to the prostitution instead of the robbery, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Did you come across this guy ever again? Do you recall?
I can't remember, but generally, let's say, because I would arrest a guy and then I would see him again. And most of the time, they could remember you. Once they would walk up, let's say I was driving a different car. Once they came up to the car and looked in, they're like, "Oh, fuck this! I ain't getting in," and they would immediately walk away.
Got it. Okay. And again, we're talking about this is really the same kind of community problem as the other street prostitution that we've been talking about. I mean, it's just the same thing. It's just it just happens to be these are males and some are females, but it's all the same thing. It's all street prostitution is what we're talking about, right?
And yes, and this was all driven by, of course, drug abuse.
Right.
So these guys had to make quick money to get the money for the drugs, and they had to be in the area where the drugs were being sold. So, jumping in the car, they would invest 10 minutes of their time, get a ride back to where they got picked up, and then run to the drug house.
Got it.
All right. Well, that's going to kind of start to close out this episode. A-Train, got anything?
Just one more time. Just give me one more, Mr. Peepers. Super E.
Okay, A-Train. Mr. Peepers won't make any more appearances on the main drag.
Well, all right. Super E, anything other than Mr. Peepers? If not, you can keep doing Mr. Peepers all day and we'll keep rolling.
No, it makes me dizzy. It makes me lightheaded doing Mr. Peepers. So I just hope that we have listeners that appreciate what we're doing and they have a great weekend.
Fantastic. A-Train, take us out.
All right, here we go.